Hi students, this is Ms. Barnett with a review video to help you revise your written response answers for the Force and Motion end of unit assessment. I'd like you to watch the video, listen carefully, and then take a look at your responses and your scores on PowerSchool, and then please revise your answers. For question 1, a satellite was in 2 separate crashes. In both crashes, the satellite had the same mass. Engineers want to know about the speed and direction of the satellite after the crashes. Why would the crash affect the motion of the satellite? And which crash caused a greater change in motion for the satellite? So let's take a look at our pictures. We see in crash 1, the black asteroid has more mass, slowed down by 2 kilometers per second. In crash 2, the gray asteroid has less mass and slowed down by 2 kilometers per second. So for the asteroids, in both crashes, their change in velocity is the same. We know that the satellite had the same mass each time. So just based on that information, we can infer something was different in each crash, and that would have had to be the strength of the force of the collision. So one idea to think about here is that the strength of the force exerted on the satellite will determine how much its velocity will change. So which of these crashes did the satellite experience a stronger force? That would have to be crash 1 because this asteroid has more mass. A stronger force is required to change the speed of a more massive object by the same amount as an object with less mass. We also want to make sure to mention in this answer here that both objects in a collision experience the same strength force, but in opposite directions. So to give you a sample answer, crash 1 caused a greater change in speed for the satellite. And again, we know that because this asteroid has more mass. In a collision, both objects experience the same strength force, but in opposite directions. It takes a stronger force to change the velocity of a more massive object. So since the asteroid with more mass changed speed the same amount as the asteroid with less mass, the more massive asteroid must have experienced a stronger force in the collision than the asteroid with less mass. This means that the satellite must have experienced a stronger force when it collided with the more massive asteroid. So take some time to look at your own answer. You might want to replay this part of the video again and think about how you can revise your answer and make sure that it includes all of those important concepts. Now let's go ahead and look at question 2. Okay, in question 2, it asks, in a warehouse, the workers sometimes slide boxes along the floor to move them. 2 boxes were sliding toward each other and crashed. The crash caused both boxes to change speed. Based on the information in the diagram, which statement is correct? In your answer, explain what the forces were like and why the boxes changed speed. Okay, so looking at before the crash, we see box 1 is moving 4 kilometers per hour right, box 2 is moving 8 kilometers per hour left. After the crash, box 1 has changed directions, box 2 is still going in the same direction. And very important to pay attention here that box 1 changed speed by 6 kilometers per hour, box 2 changed speed by 7. So which one had a greater change in velocity? You can see that's box 2. Well, what does that mean that box 2 had a greater change in velocity? We can infer that box 2 had less mass because it had a greater change in velocity, and box 1 had more mass because it had less change in velocity when these boxes collided. So some important concepts that should be explained in your response. One is that you indicate that forces cause objects to change their motion. So for these objects to change velocity or change direction requires a force. Secondly, you should explain that an object's mass determines how much it changes motion from a force. So you'll want to explain why box 1 had less change and box 2 had more change in velocity because of their different masses. Finally, you'll want to explain how collision forces work, and that when objects collide, they experience the same strength force in opposite directions. So a sample answer here would be box 1 has more mass than box 2. I know this because when the two boxes crashed, they experienced the same strength force in opposite directions. Since box 1 had less change in speed from this force, it must have more mass than box 2. That's because when the same strength force is exerted on objects of different masses, the object with less mass will have a greater change in velocity. So again, spend some time looking at your own answer. Think about what your mistakes were, what misunderstandings you may have had. If you need to replay this part of the video, please do so, and then revise your answer in your own words. Thank you for watching.